you take a look, first of all, in your packet, let's go through this first, okay? How many of you like to write? How many of you despise it? That's okay, I love your honesty. So, my goal is to have you guys who don't like writing begin to enjoy it a little bit. For those of you who like it, my job is to expand that horizon and make you better writers, okay? This is a different type of writing that we're going to do today, or this week, next week, because you get to be a little bit more creative, but in more of a condensed version, okay? So the first, and like I said, most of this, I would say 98% of this is going to be done in class. You're like, yeah, right, okay, good. We want to help you through this process. We don't want you to do this on your own, especially since the majority of you guys don't like to write, okay? But if you take a look at your packet, the first thing we have is a graphic organizer. This is where our brainstorm begins. Before you can begin to write, you have to know where you're going. Do you agree? Okay? So, and you've heard me talk about a brain dump before, where I write all my thoughts down in my journal at night and I get all my stuff out of my head. Well, that's kind of what a brainstorm is you're gonna have these ideas that come and we want you to get them down, okay? So if you look at this first paper, it is a ladder. And that's really all it is, because sometimes when we write, we kind of go all over the place, especially when it's a narrative. Now granted, a narrative is not about, this narrative is not about you. It's a suspenseful narrative. So we have been, this is kind of a culminating part of our unit, all right? So we're gonna kind of look at this and look at the writing prompts that are gonna start us off, okay? So today is just our brainstorming day, getting some thoughts down. Tomorrow we'll do a thesis and an introduction, and then we'll continue working on our body paragraphs and then our conclusion. This is only, you're gonna be like, this is it, 3 paragraphs. That's all we're gonna write, total, in the paper. So it's gonna be a short paper, okay? Your body paragraph normally is 3 paragraphs. We're gonna make it down to 1 and condense our thoughts. To me, I want to see more good quality work than quantity. Does that make sense? Okay? So making sure that our sentence structure is good, making sure that our punctuation is good, making sure we're following a flow. All right? So if we look at some of these that we have up here, these are writing prompts, and you're going to choose one of these to start. When you think of suspense, remember we said that suspense is not necessarily gory and guts, right? It's keeping that reader going and thinking and wanting them to know more, right? Keeping them on the edge of their seats is like we say, right? We turn that page, oh my goodness, this is what's going to happen. Or we don't know what's going to happen. We've read that in all of our stories so far. So here's lots of different ones. You're running as fast as you can, but you can't get away because what you're running from doesn't have legs. Someone seems to have disappeared, but they're really hiding in plain sight. You stand atop a 50-story ledge, clinging to the building for dear life and wondering how you got here. These all could be your hook, which is always the hardest part, right? So I'm going to let you, in just a little bit, figure out which kind of story you want to write, okay? But first of all, we are going to take a hard look at this graphic organizer. The first step is going to do is you have to pick your starter. Okay, so write these things down. So at the top of your paper, write narrative. Suspenseful narrative, okay? You're gonna pick your starter. from your choices. I think there's 40. Lots of different choices. So that's going to kind of be the basis for your story. Okay? Then you're going to begin to fill out your graphic organizer. Okay? Make sense? On your graphic organizer, it says dialogue. I don't want a lot of dialogue. So a lot of people, when they write a narrative, they think that there's all this communication. Kind of keep it either from, if you're telling the story, so in first person, or maybe in one of the third persons, looking from the outside in. Okay? Because when you get into dialogue, I feel like it gets too confusing. So keep the dialogue, let's just say limit the dialogue. Okay? You need to choose your point of view. Okay? On here it says conflict. What kind of conflict do you want to happen in your story? What's the climax going to be? Is the person going to be found in the shed? Or is the golden key going to be found to open up the treasure? Whatever your story is, okay? Obviously your resolution, and then what your theme would be. If I was reading your story, I would see, remember, this is fictional, so we have themes, right? What are you trying to teach or tell? What's the moral of the story? What's that theme? Now, in this packet, if you look carefully, you have a great list of transition words. Now, all of these things, you guys, are also on your Google Classroom, okay, from yesterday. Remember I said we're going to get to those, but we just didn't yesterday. We did something else. So these transition words are awesome. No more are you allowed to use first, second, and third. Okay? Those are baby words is what I call them. Those are elementary words. So I would maybe use first of all, or to begin with, the prince was walking down the beach. I don't know, I'm just making something up. All right? And then, so if you have like your main points of your story, you have your middle, you could say, let's see, at the same time, the princess was walking along the beach. I don't know, okay? And then for conclusion, to summarize or to sum up, or for this reason, as a result, these are great transition words, okay? And what a transition word is, linking from one event to another. That's what a transition word is, and that's how it's used. Normally, if you had your 3 paragraphs in your body, you would start each of those paragraphs that way, but we're only doing one body paragraph, okay? So we're condensing down, which is really hard for my brain to get there, but we just need to do that. So this is one of the things that I would never, ever, ever lose, okay? These are great lists. You could use these all the way through high school and college, this list, okay? Then the next thing you have is kind of like a checklist, a peer list when we peer edit with each other, okay? So you don't really need this right now. And then the other thing that you have that's a loose paper is your rubric, how your story will be graded, okay? And we'll go over that a little bit more in detail. But today, what I want you to accomplish, you have about 15 minutes.